Okay, so the thing that I want to talk about today that's kind of puzzling to me is safety. And the reason I want to bring it up is because we talked about how, um, it'd be improper or code of ethics to not bring people over to your home that you were um, in, that, are part of your therapy, and the lines that you shouldn't cross, and all that kind of stuff. And we had an incident um, at one of our MDT meetings where the social worker that I work with most of the time, she on juvenile probation, her mom is actually the MDT coordinator. And what has started to happen, because like the prosecuting attorney, the myself, um, some of the other people that are at these MDT meetings, like the GALs, and of that nature, they are familiar with her. Her name is Karen, and she used to be a probation officer up until probably a year ago now. And so they all know her. They all know her from her professional life, and um, and so that the concern that we have, or that her and her daughter have, is that in the meetings, people are kind of jokingly saying, "Oh, your mom," because she's the MDT coordinator. Her daughter is a social worker for the case through the Department of Family Services. And it just kind of seems really unprofessional, first of all. And second of all, when her daughter got the job at DFS, they made a really big issue about them not communicating in front of people that were probation or parolees, because some of those people are going to get mad at their probation officer at some point and may attempt to take something out or contact them. And so I'm kind of just wondering, first of all, what you think of that. And second of all, what would be a good way to approach that? Because obviously they're not comfortable with it, whether it's unprofessional or a safety risk. Um, you know, I guess what would be the best way to approach it? Like a nice little reminder email, like, okay, it'd be nice if you didn't, call the MDT coordinator my mom in front of people that are not aware that she's my mom, because it kind of looks, like, oh, I got my mom a job, which she didn't. She's worked in the field a lot longer than her daughter. Um, so that was my first kind of puzzling moment. And my second one was where, we've talked about in the past, like safety issues, and like for the Department of Family Services, if you're going out on a home visit, you really shouldn't go by yourself. The locks on the doors with the codes, that kind of thing. Being aware of where you're sitting in your office to make sure that you have, you don't have your back to the door, or you have an exit that you can get out, that straight shot, as opposed to your clients. And I guess it was something that we were talking about with my social worker I work with, excuse me, because she is doing juvenile probation, and her office is not really conducive to those safety options. There's only one door. Sorry, I'm getting a cold. There's only one door, and if you put her desk so that, she's not, doesn't have her back to the door, and she has an exit, it's really kind of out in the middle of nowhere. And we've been trying to talk about it, because when I went through some of that stuff, it's one of the issues that I asked her about. Do you think this is safe for you? And recently we've been getting some juveniles that are a little more serious issues, not so, I guess, minor offenses. And some of these boys that are coming in there are pretty big boys. And if they wanted to block her way, if she ticked him off and they wanted to block her way, she really wouldn't have any way to, get out of that situation safely. So, we have at the internship, they have the little button, the little emergency button that'll ring to the dispatch and send a police officer. And when we know, like if we had a kid last week that was in MDT, and he has a tendency, especially if his father's in the room, to get profoundly angry, and usually he stands up and tries to kind of lean in and intimidate, and he was already angry at his dad the previous week in his rep meeting, and got up and tried to kind of get in his face, and we we had to say, okay, you need to go cool down, and he did respond to that. But we kind of warned him too that an MDT is really an uncomfortable thing to be in, especially if you're 15, 16, 17-year-old kid who, it's kind of like, laying out all your dirty laundry, and it can make you feel really uncomfortable, really angry, kind of resentful of, all these people trying to make decisions for you. Oops. And so I can understand how he could potentially get worked up, and this is one of the issues that he is on probation for. So we have some of those things there, but what I'm wondering about is more personally, like as a social worker, I understand that when you work with different kind of clientele, I would think that there are certain instances where you don't want to share a lot of personal information, and you don't want to see the person. You want to make sure that you're in a neutral environment, or a therapeutic environment, and not have an outside relationship with them, and those kind of things. And the concern I had with that case particularly was having someone know where you live. And I know in a small town it's pretty easy to figure that out. And I come from a law enforcement kind of background, with my husband being a sheriff, and I work for the court, and we have very strict rules on procedures on how we are to behave even outside of court, or outside in the community, because it reflects on the office of the court. And so I kind of am surprised that that's not as big as an issue as I thought it was, kind of, maybe. Or depending only on your clientele, is it really big an issue? But for me, I'm always thinking about who's around me, what the circumstances are, what the situation is, because I come in contact with a lot of people through the court, and not all of them are always happy to be there. Let's just be honest; most of them are not happy to be there. So, most of them don't seem to take it out on the clerks per se, because we usually try to be as helpful as we can. But when you're in a therapy situation and you're building that trust and stuff, I just am concerned if there's any times where you have felt like you wouldn't want to have run into this person like somewhere else, from like at the Walmart or something, and you can't approach anybody because of confidentiality, so you have to wait until somebody approaches you. So you have to kind of avoid them. But if somebody is like coming across there at you and they want to approach you, I mean, is it genuinely something you need? Depending on the person and situation, I can see that it might be something you'd be concerned about. And, how would you handle that situation if it did arise? So, those, I guess, were my questions. Was curious what other people have encountered, and what other actions that you've taken to make sure that you're safe in your environment that you're at. So I look forward to hearing what you have to say, and any examples of stuff that you've encountered yourself. Have a good night. Thanks.